So as the NBA makes its way into their new streaming deal, one sleeping giant is going to be Netflix. And make no mistake about it, there was a lot of focus on that Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight, not for reasons that were happening in the ring, but for all the logistics around it when it comes to streaming. The easy access to an international audience without grabbing a bunch of licenses from around the world, and also Netflix's transition to enter into the live streaming game as they sort of build out their own ad service program. And so far it has been proven successful for the worldwide reach from the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, and also with their second test in their NFL Christmas special. But their strategy when it comes to sports is a lot different than ESPN. For instance, they're beginning to focus on key on-demand events. It's almost a selling point of having a premium live sports event that everyone cares about, a must-see, an event like a Super Bowl or World Cup semifinals or finals game. They're almost headed in a different direction than ESPN, just buying a bulk of regular season games and then hosting the finals. Netflix just wants the premium events that people cannot miss. They want the must-see TV stuff. And in this segment right here, we're going to hear from Michael Nathanson, a CEO of an equity research firm, as he specializes in evaluating the type of equity value that these new money-making opportunities would present. But first, before we hear from him, let's take a look at what Netflix had sent out in a letter to their shareholders on their strategy when it comes to live sports.
We're not focusing on acquiring rights to large regular season sports packages. Rather, our live strategy is all about delivering can't-miss special event programming.
It makes more sense why we're seeing the NBA create more events. And within that event programming, it makes sense why we're seeing a lot of the sports leagues changing their playoff formats, allowing more teams to participate from baseball to the NFL to the NBA. And with the NBA, we're starting to get a clearer picture of why they're creating the in-season tournament. That's a piece of inventory that they can sell to Netflix as a must-see, and the same thing for the play-in. This strategy is completely different than what most sports leagues are used to selling, giving ESPN a bunch of inventory for Monday nights and Sunday night footballs. Same thing for the NBA with the long 82-game schedule, and Netflix approach is cutting down on all that fat. Again, Michael Nathanson spoke on this, with the leagues beginning to lose some of their leverage and selling their bulk inventories to many media conglomerates as it kind of withers down to a few players like Netflix, Amazon, and ESPN. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
I don't see them going after the AFC package, right? And from the NBA negotiations, they were not really engaged in getting one of the three NBA packages. I don't see them getting Wednesday night NHL games. I think they see this as events. We want to be in the event business. And I think the leagues, for the first time, really are in a weaker position relative to a partner than any other time, right? The leagues need to be on Netflix because Netflix does bring that heat and that sizzle, and they eventize your content. So if I'm in the NFL, I'm like, hey, this is a great way to promote the NFL on Netflix. It may not be the moneymaker that Fox or the CBS contract is, but I think this is a more even relationship vis-a-vis a licensor than any other thing I've ever seen before, right? Because Netflix doesn't need sports to keep going. They don't need sports, right? They need to keep innovating and delivering great entertainment content with a little bit of sport, but they can make their own sports as they do with the fight with Tyson. That was just an idea that they decided to turn on. So to your point, John, I don't consider them a true bidder here for every single piece of content coming down the pike. They're going to be very picky. And even with FIFA, women's soccer, it was like a win-win for them because they could create a 2-week spectacular that probably wasn't there before when it was on broadcast and cable. So yeah, I think your instinct is right. Don't pencil in, these guys are going to be on every single bid going forward. They're not, right? They're just not. If anyone, I think Amazon will hang around the hoop a lot more than Netflix because Amazon has a different strategy and their advertising business is more built out, and they just have a different approach, and they're cutting back on non-sports spending, right? So I think they're probably more likely bidder for content, sports content than Netflix.
So once again, we're seeing the leagues make major adjustments to the regular season formats. And Michael right here exactly pins down on how these leagues are going to begin to structure their regular season formats to sell it off as different event packages to the various streaming partners.
Can the NFL re-segment its packaging to follow the Premier League within the UK, right? Have an A, B, C, D, E rights. Like, don't make it so obvious that it's AFC, NFC, but try to cherry pick. You get opening day, you get Black Friday, you get Christmas, you get 2 wildcard games. Like, basically come up with a package where you basically try to get a Netflix or an Amazon to pay up for something that's really special and very eventized, right? It's not going to be, the Browns, no offense to Browns, or the Giant game in November. It's going to be, these are the most high-profile events we have at Super Bowl, and we want you to be our partner to kind of launch our business. So I could see them coming up with a strategic, and the B package has Bills and Chiefs games more than anything else, right? And then the E package will be just your run-of-the-mill AFC, NFC, right? That's what you have to do, right? Because at that point too, the broadcasters will be even a weaker shape, and they may not be able to pay the increases that the league wants, right? But the broadcasters need the local rights to keep their retransmission fees flowing in. So you have to come up with some repackaging, resegmenting that gets everyone to play, and everyone has to bid a little bit more. That's what I think is going to happen. I really do. I don't think it'll be AFC, NFC, Thursday, Sunday night. It's going to be more about the type of games that are available. I think the league would want Netflix, with all their homes and their young viewers and their promotional clout, to be part of that, right? Because Netflix will not have to pay a king's ransom. Oh, it's true. And by the way, what's Apple going to do here, right? So Apple has done MLS, but they've sat out a lot of these big opportunities, and they're the real wild card, right? So maybe in 3 or 4 years' time, they'll have a better sense of what Apple does. But up to here, Apple's not been a realistic bidder for these packages. It's just, it's just hard. This is the challenge of the industry, is that by the time you get to number 5, number 6, number 7 streaming, you just don't have the scale in the market to compete, right? It's like, you think about broadcast, you had 3 or 4 broadcast nets. That was the max. Here, you've got so many streaming options. That's where you need to consolidate. It'd be Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and some combination of Peacock, Paramount, and Max, right? To get 4 or 5 players, then the market becomes a lot healthier. Netflix has shown how healthy their business is. The others need to consolidate and get scale to create a business here that works.
It's crazy because the more that the streamers consolidate, the less partners there are going to be to bid on the NBA, NFL, and other sports leagues. So you wonder if their rights are going to keep going up and up and up, similar to the way ESPN keeps paying more and more and more and more. And even that model, in a way, is going to get very difficult for ESPN when they launch their own app to keep justifying paying higher and higher rights fees. Once again, when it comes to streaming, Netflix is the only one proven to be profitable. Everyone else is pretty much on the outside looking in. But Michael right here gives an interesting perspective on ESPN and that exact approach.
The economics of PTV finally caught up with them, right? And the reality is the cost of their sports rights kept going up. We had thought, if you asked me 5 years ago when I covered it, that they would be more conservative in bidding for rights, that they would see the top line challenges ahead, and that they would start hitting the brakes on rights. And if anything, yes, I know they'll tell me that they've not renewed certain rights, they've been good about it, but just the big ticket items kept going up. And that's what actually, is the collapse of the profit pools from 5-10 years ago. It wasn't inevitable, but that's where it's ended up right now.
And you can see the beginnings of just that ESPN mega conglomerate. Things are starting to buckle from the ground up because they're in a fight right now to even keep Major League Baseball. They're considering opting out of those deals, and them entering streaming in 2025 once they launch their app. That is going to be very difficult because sports fans could check out of that anytime. Let's say if they only watch the NFL, they could pay a monthly subscription, but once the season's over, they can just cancel that and then start it back up once the season begins back in the fall. Under the cable bundle before, that was not possible, so they continued to collect those revenues throughout the years. So in a way, it kind of added to that layer of just, hey, we'll pay no matter what for sports rights because we're still making up the money on the back end. But these are interesting times. We've seen the NFL, the MLB, the NBA all change their playoff formats in the last couple of years, and they are definitely preparing for the mega transition that's going to happen in sports media. It definitely will be a bumpy ride. So that's all I have for today. You guys definitely hit up the description and the link below. Hit up the mailbag with any questions you have. Also, check out the game film. We got some great breakdowns. And until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.